pleasure to introduce our first speaker. He's actually a cousin of mine, Dr. Joël Boimier. He practices in Winnipeg, Manitoba. He's seen over 1,200 patients a week there. Him and his sister are running his dad's old practice. He comes from a family of many chiropractors. We've got just a huge chiropractic influence in our family, and it's a pretty cool environment to live in. I got to grow up in it. Dr. Joe got to grow up in it, and it's just an amazing environment to grow up in. Joe's been one of my mentors ever since I was a little kid. I remember just being, 4, 5, 6-year-old and just looking up to my older cousin just because he was such a great guy. He was just always, just such a great athlete and just such a very, just a generous person. He always took time to hang out with the little cousins, make them feel special. And I've just always looked up to him ever since then. And now that he's a chiropractor just doing amazing things in his community, he's still one of my mentors and just doing amazing things in the community. And I definitely want to be able to do those sort of things when I get out and practice. And he graduated actually from Life University here in 2000. So he's been out of in practice for only about, not even 7 years. And he's already, seen over 1,200 a week in his office, just to give you an idea of what the things that you can accomplish as future chiropractors. So without further ado, Dr. Joël Boimier.
Thanks, Dan. I think you're special too. I'm totally excited to be here today. It wasn't long ago where I was actually in this room in 127C. Like you said, in 2000 is when I graduated, and Annex C was just built. And we used to come here and listen to chiropractors come and tell their war stories about being in the trenches, about transforming lives, about the healing that's going on in their offices. It was just such an awesome time, tons of energy and excitement. And then we go back home and, with my buddies, and we sit there and we'd stay up all night long to talk about our hopes and dreams, about how we're going to get out there and do the same thing. Actually, we're going to do it better. I'm going to be better than that guy. I'm going to, transform my community. I'm going to have 10 different offices. We're going to see 1,000 patients a week. Whatever it is, we talk about it all night long. So it's really an honor for me to be here before you today. I really, I'm totally excited about being here. Now, on the other hand, the topic that I have today to talk about is, what does a dream practice look like? And that kind of seems like a really easy topic to talk about. I can just say, well, it's, for me, I'm living my dream right now. It's my practice like that. But I realized after a lot of dissecting it and thinking about it that it's really not that easy of a topic to talk about, because really the dream practice might be different for everybody, every single person in this room. It could be slightly different, or it could be significantly different. So I'm on the plane here yesterday, and I'm like, I still don't know what I'm talking about. I have no idea, because how am I going to bring this topic here? And usually when I give a talk, I'm totally prepared. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I have taken time to think about different topics, put them together, make it presentable so you can understand it. But, it wasn't happening. And then finally last night at about 12:30, I was lying in bed and it hit me. I realized, the message that I had to share today. Right, so we're going to get into it. I was thinking about it, is it volume? You hear about these chiropractors who see 1,500 patients a week, 2,000 patients a week, thousands of patients a week. Is that your dream practice? That's a tough question to answer, but I can tell you from experience that if it is it 100 patients a week? Is it 200? Is it 500? Is it 1,000? Is it 50? Is it 2,000? Is it 5,000 patients a week? Once you start to reach these different goals, when we hit 1,000 patients a week, that was exciting. It was like, yeah, we hit 1,000 patients a week, we reached the goal. But I tell you what, it's not fulfilling. It doesn't fill you up on the inside. You know what I'm saying? And you might have a trouble understanding that because you think and you associate it with a number. It has nothing to do with a number. I'll tell you that right now. I'll be the first to tell you that. Right? So then what is it? Is it healing? Because we're all going to talk probably about some patients that we've had who've had unbelievable healing through chiropractic care. Is it the cancers that go away? Is it the tumors that fall off? Is it the first time that you adjust somebody and their body heals their migraine? Is that it? And I'm telling you right now that if you're chasing symptoms like that, that you will have an empty feeling inside. It's great to see. We love to see it. I love to see how the body heals and functions better under chiropractic care. That is not a dream practice. You know, is it money that all the chiropractors speaking before you today, they make over $1 million a year probably. They're extremely wealthy, that they pay cash for cars and houses and different things like that. And it's fun. It's great. It's great to see your bank account go $100,000, $500,000, $1 million. It's nice to see. It's fun. You know, it should be a great goal for everybody. But is that your dream practice? Is that living your dream? And I can tell you that if you're chasing money, that you'll never live your dream. You know, and so when you look at that, it's like, well, what is it then? How do you figure it out? And what came to me last night is that every single person in this room has been given a dream, that it's already inside of you, that you have been giving the tools, that you have been giving the talent and the gifts to reach your dream, to reach the life of your dream, never mind the practice of your dreams, to reach the life of your dream. Right? And volume and money and healings and things like that are great goals to have, but nothing to do with that. They're direct side effects of that. So my job today, what I feel like my job is to try and get you in touch with the dream that's placed within you, to try and get you in touch with the fact that you are, first of all, a chiropractor, and that is part of your dream, obviously, because you're here. You know, even if you're a CA here, that you're still in chiropractic, and that is part of your dream. So how do you do that? Well, we're going to go over really simple things, just a few basic steps, in order for you to start to realize that gift, the talents that you are given in order to reach your dream. And the first one is the reason you're here, to learn chiropractic. That you need to spend all your time, energy, focus while you're here and learn chiropractic from the inside out. Dissect it, learn everything about it. You need to know that when you release that prisoned impulse, when you adjust the spine, remove the subluxation, that the body heals and functions at 100% every single time. You guys have heard subluxations kill. Have you heard that? Have you guys heard that? You know, everybody has heard subluxations kill. Do you really believe that? How many people here, I want to see you by a raise of hands, how many people here know that subluxations kill? Okay, so 3/4 of the room know that subluxations kill. Now, when you're alone at night, in your bed and you're thinking about it, do you truly believe it? Do you have 100% faith? Do you have 100% faith that subluxations destroy humanity and literally kill? Now I want to see a raise of hands. How many people have 100% faith and it goes down by 2/3? There's only less than 1/3 of you, and I'll believe that, you know, it's probably not even that. It's probably only a handful of people here. Right? So I want to help you realize that, because in order to be successful, in order to reach your dreams, you have to understand the power of chiropractic, the power that is in one adjustment, that you release the power in the body, that it heals, not some of the time, not just on occasion, not just for headaches or back pain, that every single time the body heals and functions at 100%. Every single time when you remove the subluxation, it does that. You know, you guys know stats on scoliosis? I just heard this not long ago. You know what the stats are on scoliosis? That on average, it's 15 years off somebody's life. You know, scoliosis, that starts with a subluxation at birth or in early developing years. And that's 15 years off your life, that it kills you 15 years early. You understand that? And that's not chiropractic research. It's actually not even medical research. It's actuaries who look at life insurance. In other words, if you apply for life insurance and you're 35 years old, they'll charge you the rate of a 51-year-old if you check off that you have a scoliosis. You got to understand. Now, why is that? Because it causes pathological tension on the spinal cord, and it shuts your organs down early. You know, that's what we deal with. We take the pressure off that spinal cord. You understand that? You guys know that just recently in the Journal of Internal Medicine, about 2 months ago, that they came out with a study showing that if you have anterior head posture, which decreases your height by more than 1 centimeter, that your chance of developing heart disease increases by 64%. You guys get that? 64% because your head is forward. Why is that? Pressure on the spinal cord. That's pathological pressure on the spinal cord. especially in the lower neck, and those are the nerves that go directly to the heart. And it breaks down, and you develop heart disease, and you die early from that. You know, and then you hear research like from New York University, 200% better functioning immune system with people who are under chiropractic care for 5 years or more. You guys have all heard that one? 200% better functioning immune system. I look at that, and I'm like, wait a minute. If we're correcting the subluxations, and those people who are being adjusted for 5 years or more are now functioning at their optimal level, that means that everybody else who has a 200% less functioning immune system is subluxated. That means that our entire community is subluxated. You guys understand that? And then you look at it and you're like, well, who's going to heal from cancer first? Somebody who is subluxated or not? I want my immune system firing at 100%, so I'm going to be adjusted in order to be able to do that. You understand that? And when you start to see the devastating effects of subluxations, right, you start to realize it, and then you start to see that you can make a difference, right? You want to start to see that, you got to look at research, you got to look at statistics out there because they're devastating. I know Charlie's going to go over this. I'm just going to touch on a few right now because you got to create a need for what you have. And you want to create a need, I'll create a need for you. That right now 50% of infants 6 months of age have eczema. That 50% of kids have allergies, asthma, or hay fever. They have chronic autoimmune disease starting at the age of 6 months, 50%. You know, when I was in school, which you know wasn't too long ago, right? It wasn't like that. That maybe one child had asthma. There was maybe one who had, you know, allergies. But now it's 50%. Now, what's the difference? What's the difference from one generation? Why are they so sick? Why is there so much chronic autoimmune disease? Give me an answer. Yeah, drugs, vaccinations, those are all common answers, absolutely. But is it really the drugs and the vaccines? Is it really the antibiotics and the vaccinations? Because if it was, wouldn't it be 100%? Because everyone's getting pumped full of drugs, right? This is the stuff we have to work out in our minds here. If it was the drugs, if it was the vaccines, then it would be 100%, but it's not 100%, it's 50, and you want to know why? Because 50% of those kids are severely subluxated to the point where when they get filled up with chemical potions, lotions, toxins, formaldehyde, antifreeze, ethylene glycol, mercury, when they get filled up with that junk, right, their bodies can't break it down and get rid of it because they're not functioning at 100%. But the ones who are less subluxated or not subluxated can. You see the difference? So 50% of our kids are severely subluxated. Right? You want a need? That's it. You want another one? Now by the age of 9 years old in the state of New York, they're going through screening tests. Did you guys see that? Two days ago, I got an email. They're now started screening tests for mental health disorders. The pharmaceutical companies have managed their way in there somehow to get true or false and yes or no questions. So you go fill out, a 9-year-old fills out a questionnaire, and if they has too many yeses, they're going to pump them full of drugs because it's all about business, creating new markets. You want a need? There's a need right there. You know what I'm saying? There's a need right there. You want another need? That 5 out of 6 of us in this room right here are going to die from heart disease or cancer. 5 out of 6 of us. You know, there's a need. You can work on that. You want another need? That medicine is the leading cause of death in North America, in the U.S. and in Canada. Leading cause of death. Right? You know what's even worse than that? That only 1 in 1,000 make it to 60 in good health on no medication. 60 years old. 1 in 1,000. You think that's the way we're created to live? We're designed to live sick, unhealthy, dying? No, that's not it. And this is the worst one of all, that 1 out of 3 by 65 are now in nursing homes. Did you hear that? That by 65 years of age, 1 out of 3 of us are in nursing homes. I tell you what, I adjust people. I actually go to nursing homes and adjust people. There's not one person there that's their hope and their dream. That they're like, oh, you know what? I made it. I'm finally here in a nursing home. I get a tray of pills every day. Somebody gives me a bath because I can't do it myself. Not one of those people are like that. You know why they're not? You know why they're there at 65 though? Because they never took the steps today to not get there. Because they always said, I'll take care of it later. I'll just mask it with this pill, potion, lotion, whatever the case is. You get that? It's essential when you look at those statistics that you develop, you realize that there is such a need for correcting spines out there that it is far beyond what you could ever imagine. When you live in this microcosm called Life University here, you know, it's not reality. You get out there in the public and you start seeing what's going on, that they're just being pumped full of drugs and they're told don't worry about it, and they're thrown into nursing homes by 65 years old with their bodies just shutting down and decaying and dying early. You know, on the other hand, when you start to remove the interference, when you start to correct the subluxations, the opposite happens, that they tend to move towards health, life, and vitality. I got a couple examples of that, too. This is Kim. I just got this yesterday. I got 2 examples this week, so I'm going to help you. I'm going to go through this. This is Kim here. She typed this out for me. This is the symptoms she had when she walked into the office. There's 27 of them there. They're actually not all listed because there wasn't enough room on the page, right? 27 symptoms by the time she walks in. So she writes this little article, and it's not great English, so I'm going to kind of stumble through this. She says, is it anxiety, stress, brain tumor, MS, or just the need for subluxation correction? Back in the summer of 2004, all my symptoms began. After going to my own doctor and being told maybe it was just white coat syndrome, I left with a prescription for anxiety and depression. With absolutely no results, I returned once again with the explanation that maybe the drugs were not strong enough, maybe I needed to be taking more. So I did, and this came with dizziness and the fact that I couldn't sleep anymore. And after many trips back and forth to the doctor and getting nowhere, he finally agreed to send me to a neurologist. He wasn't sure of my condition, so he sent me to a thyroid specialist, and they checked my thyroid. I had been given a prescription for underactive thyroid 3 years prior with never ever seeing a specialist. The neurologist told me that it was a brain tumor, blockage in a vein, or my thyroid was maybe the problem. After the MRI results, no, it wasn't a brain tumor, right? So he just gave me another prescription because he thought maybe it was a migraine. Made me very sick. I had to miss weeks of work. After phoning the neurologist and telling him how sick I was and the dizziness was way worse, he then advised that if I didn't want to take what he prescribed, then not to bother coming back. His impression was that I was not giving it enough time. The pharmacist then told me to stop taking it and to see my doctor immediately, so I go back to my doctor. He sends me to an ENT specialist, right? And the ENT specialist sends me for a test, but in Canada, it's 3 months to get the test. So she decides I'm going to drive down to the States, pay $2,000 out of my pocket so I can actually get the test. So she gets the test the next day, and the specialists there tell her that they were 99% sure she had MS. After being told this, I was floored, and I was really scared and anxious about what was going on. So back I go to the ENT neurologist, and they just gave me more prescription drugs. In the midst of all this, and the big runaround with all the specialists, one of my coworkers suggested I try to see Dr. Joel at Boehme Chiropractic Center. I thought about it for a week or two and decided I had nothing to lose but a lot to gain. I was 37 years old, getting nowhere with regular doctors and specialists except for more prescription. I felt like a walking drugstore. You know, upon meeting the staff at Boehme Chiropractic Center, I realized they were there to get my life back on track. After Joel reviewed my x-rays and showed me that there was damage to my neck, we started care. This turned out to have amazing results. Even the neurologist had to admit, I don't know what you're doing, but it seems to be working, so keep it up. After my 6-month checkup with him and the help of Dr. Joel, I was off those prescriptions. A year later, I was on no medications whatsoever. As I continued on with chiropractic care, I began functioning better, eating better, had the ability to deal with the stress in everyday life. Right? As the summer approached, my vision started to get blurry. So off I went to the eye doctor, who said, what have you been doing? Your eyeglass prescription is now double what it needs to be. He had never seen such change in vision in 1 year. Off to the thyroid specialist, normal. Back to the ENT test, absolutely normal. I'm now exercising for at least half an hour a day. Really gets me going in the morning. And this is the best part right here. This actually, I read this 3 times, got choked up twice on it. This spring, I finally decided that I needed to do something for myself, and after 21 years at one place of employment, I quit my job and moved on to another place where I have room to grow. Right? Thanks to the staff at the Bohemian Chiropractic, I have my life back. I don't refer anybody to medical doctors anymore. I always tell them to see a chiropractor. I'm living proof that chiropractic works. Right? Living mission. This one's quicker. Why see the Bohemian Chiropractic Center? This girl had made 2 columns, what I used to feel like, what I feel like now. Right? So this is it. Migraines every weekend. Haven't had one in over a year. Sinus problems. Haven't had inflamed sinuses. No sinus medication. Allergies, asthma. Been hospitalized several times. Never had an attack since. Haven't used the inhaler since. Shoulder pain from 20 years of dislocated shoulder. Shoulder pains daily. Gone. Neck pain, headaches, gone. Walking, better. Lower back pain, gone. Sleeping problems. It's so wonderful to be able to sleep through the night. Foot problems, gone. Slip disc, whatever that means, gone. Seizures, I was diagnosed with seizure disorder several years ago. I had an entire mass over my temporal lobe, cause unknown. Mass over the temporal lobe is gone, and I haven't had a seizure in over 2 years. You know, my quality of life has improved so much since coming to Bohemian Chiropractic Center. I no longer spend my weekends shut in a dark room with an ice pack and medication. I no longer have to worry that the long walk of today is going to mean inactivity, pain, Tylenol the next day. No longer have epilepsy, seizures, thank you, is what she says, right? When you understand the effects of subluxation, you're not tied to results, you're not tied to numbers, money, healing. This happens all the time. It happens all the time because that's what you do when you correct subluxation. The body heals and functions better, right? So the point is that however you're going to do it, that's up to you. That you have that dream inside you, you have the special gift inside of you, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time while you're here to develop the knowledge that subluxations are devastating. It's going to take time to figure out where is the need that you need to fill. My need is real simple. I want to try and help everybody I can. I'm never going to stop until my community, until my town, until my country is the healthiest in the entire world. I want us to be the example that maximized living, that through the chiropractic lifestyle is the example for health and wellness for the entire world, that everybody wants to be like us. I know it, I lived it. You know, all you guys right here, all my cousins right there, we live it, we know it. We got to share this with the entire world, right? And the last thing is, when you're doing this, you need to be the mission, right? You need to be the example to the rest of your community, to your practice, to your patients, to the rest of the chiropractors. You need to be the healthiest person out there. You know, the best example of that, the living example, or the most recent living example was Mother Teresa. She was the mission, that you just looked at this girl and she was the mission. You hear Dr. Reichman speak about this all the time, right? That wherever she shows up, it's mission. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever she does, she sees a child there, she's all about that, loving that child, because she knows that that's what that child needs. You know what I'm saying? You think Mother Teresa, when she leaves that child, goes to the back room, cracks open a kokanee, and starts having a sip, and she's like, you know, that kid stunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, she had crud all over herself. Like, that was absolutely, you know, that kid has problems. She can't even read. She's so poor, it's unbelievable. You think she was like that? No, not one bit. That she loved them completely. Completely. That she was the mission. And it's the same thing with you. If you're going to be the leader in health, if you're going to be telling people to get off drugs, to get adjusted, that you better be doing the same. That you better not be going home when you have a headache and popping a Tylenol. That if you have menstrual cramps and you throw in a Midol, that is completely incongruent. That if your kids have runny nose and headaches and fever, that you're not pumping them full of drugs. Because if you're doing that on the weekend, then on Monday you show up to your practice and you're telling people that to live the maximized living lifestyle, then you're a liar. You're a complete sham, a fake, a fraud, and people know it. Because you're dealing with their innate, and from innate to innate, they know that you're a liar. You understand that? They will never listen to you. Never. That's why you need to be the mission. That's why you need to be in shape. You need to exercise. You need to eat right. You need to get your spine corrected and adjusted so it could function up here. Not like everybody else who's functioning down there. So you can be right up here. You understand that? Can you guys see how the benefit to being the mission is? It's so important. You know, it's so important to reaching your dreams, to reaching your goals. right? And the one person, you know, it reminds me of a story that my father told me 10 years ago. We were at a DE. It was actually 10 years ago next week, right? He tells me this story about this young kid. And this is really what it's all about. And this young kid was, you know, laughed at and beat up and just made fun of his entire life. He was kind of funny looking. His face was drooped. They called him Sylvester, so he had a funny name. And he was really bugged about that. He had a dream, and his dream was to be an actor. And so he just followed it. When university came, he went to the University of Miami. This is a true story. He went to the University of Miami, and he went to drama, majored in drama. And the teachers there literally took him aside and said, you know what? You're not an actor, I'm sorry, but you suck. Like, you need to maybe think of something a little bit different. You know, and he said, forget it. I don't want to hear that, so he quit. He quit school, never got a degree. He moved to New York City, and he went to every single casting call in New York City, over 1,000 casting calls. And you know what? He got 0 jobs, not one. He went to every single casting agent in New York, and not one would take him. As a matter of fact, worse than that, every single one of them told him the same thing as his teachers. You know, you're really bad. You probably don't want to do this, is what they tell him. And he's like, I don't want to hear this. So he moves to Hollywood, because he always saw himself in Hollywood. He's like, I'm going to Hollywood. So he moves to Hollywood with $100 to his name. He sleeps in bus stations at night, right? And while he's doing this, he's going to casting calls. No. He's going to casting agents. You suck, you suck, you suck, you suck. And while he's doing this, he's actually writing a movie. He's writing a script for a movie. Longhand, just on paper, writes it all by hand. And finally finishes it. And he's completely broke, and he goes to producers now. And he's like, I want to star in this movie. Read this script, read this script, read this script. No. Finally, some guy comes along, and he says, that's an amazing script. He goes, I want to buy it from you. He goes, I will give you $100,000 for that script. You know, and the guy's like, $100,000? I have like $3. I sleep on the floor in a gas station, bus station. You know, that sounds fantastic. You know, and he goes, there's one catch though. The catch is that you're not the title actor. You can't play the title role. As a matter of fact, you're not acting in the movie at all. He's like, what are you talking about? This is my movie. I'm acting in it. And the guy goes, no. Here's $100,000, puts the check on the table, and says, take it or leave it. And you know what he did? He left it. No thanks. This movie's written for me. So he went back, started knocking on doors again, and finally somebody said, I'll give you a shot. So he did the movie, and turned out pretty good. You guys might have heard about it. It's called Rocky. You guys heard of Rocky? Sylvester Stallone. That's Sylvester Stallone's story. That his first movie he ever wrote won an Academy Award for Best Picture in 1976. And now the guy is a global icon. He has $100 million, over $100 million. He can do any movie he wants. Whether they're good or bad is not to judge, right? And I'm not going to help you do that, right? But he was just listed as Action Star of the Millennium. He was given the Action Star of the Millennium Award. I mean, all because he followed his dream, that was within him, and he knew it, and it didn't matter how many doors he had slammed in his face, but he followed it. And you know what the result was? The result was fame, fortune, anything he could have in his entire life. And I'm telling you right now that if you follow your dream here, if you figure out exactly where you are in chiropractic, if you understand the devastating effects of subluxation, if you see a need in the community and you're there to fill it for people, not for you, but for people, that volume will come, that you'll have more money than you'll know what to do with, and that the healings will happen, miracles will take place all the time in your practice. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen the other way. That you can't expect and reach, you can't do it for the volume, the money, and the healings and expect it to just happen. It has to be the other way. That you're a person of service and that you're a need filler. Right? And when that happens, the possibilities are unlimited. So understand that you're specifically chosen here to be a chiropractor. That's why you're here, that out of 6.5 billion people in this world, that you were chosen to be a chiropractor. You know, that it was you that was chosen to be a chiropractor, nobody else. Right? That you have the tools necessary to be able to incite change in people's lives, that you were given the brains to understand and see the effects of subluxation, that you were given the mouth to be able to speak it, to pierce through people so they understand it, that you were given the power to lead people towards health, wellness, and vitality, because the only other option is towards disease, death, and destruction. You understand? And when you do that, unbelievable things happen. When you do that, you will live the life of your dreams. So I thank you for your time today. Live the life of your dreams.
Before I introduce the next speaker, I just wanted to tell a quick story, just how he has personally impacted my chiropractic life and my vision for chiropractic. Back in March, in first quarter, I was invited to go to a Teach the World seminar, now Maximize Living seminar. And at that time, I wasn't really well versed in the philosophy of chiropractic. I understood, yes, that subluxation is bad, and it helps you feel better, but I never really understood until I went there. And I remember kind of sitting in the back, taking notes, and, one after another, these chiropractors that you're seeing right now and today, got up and just passionately talked about, just the devastation of subluxation. And I remember sitting in the back, and I didn't understand this. I'm like, these people are crazy. And they got up and they were just screaming and yelling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not where I want to be. But then the next speaker, Dr. Charlie Majors, got up there, and just the passion and just the inspiration that he just let loose from his heart. Right then at that moment in first quarter, I'm so blessed that this happened. It just clicked, and the switch just flipped, and I said, okay, this is the DNA of chiropractic that has been imprinted within me, and then it was just released throughout my whole body, through my blood and through my nervous system, and that's when I knew what I wanted to do after that. So I want to get you, I know he's going to get you pumped up, and he's going to just throw statistics at you, so hang on to your butts, because welcome Dr. Charlie Majors.
Creating culture. So how is our culture working? How is our culture working? You just listened to two incredible speakers that are beginning to explain to you. How is our culture working? Not well. And the reality is, though, as you go to approach this culture, how do they think it's working? Very well. They have no idea what's going to happen unless you hit them hard. Does everybody understand that? And the reality is today that if I don't hit you hard, you're not going to realize it. Because sitting in this room right now, probably 50% or 60% are still not living a maximized living life in this room. So how can we expect the public, our community, to live this life if we're not even living it yet or know what it is? So does everyone in this room know exactly what maximized living is? And so that's a hard, did everybody see where we're at? Right now, are you going to be able to get through to the public? Because every single person in the public thinks, just like you think, that these statistics are not going to be who? You. So are you understanding that? I'll guarantee, go home this weekend, talk to your mom and dad, they're going to go like this. They don't think it's going to be them. It's going to be your mom. It already happened to your dad or your relatives, and it's going to be everyone else in your town. That's the reality. The reality is, like Joel told you now, that if I had 1,000 people in this room, maybe one would make it to 60 in great health. Do you understand the impact of what that means? That no one around you, no one makes it now to 60. Did anyone here can tell me that your mom and dad have literally made it to 60 years old, or your grandma and grandpa in great health, could run, easily run a mile? You go, oh, a 60-year-old running a mile. That's the way we were created. Could your grandmother or grandpa at 60 do that? No medications, feeling good, joints felt good. Can anyone here honestly say, there are maybe a few, there are a few. So in your community, how many people are making it to 60 in great health? How many are making it to 50 in great health? How many are making it literally to 40 in great health? When one out of every three women by the age of 25 are on medication, and almost one out of every two people after the age of 35 are on medications. How can you live a life that we were created to create, that we were created for, to 100, 120 years old when we're already drugged up at 25? How are we going to make it when we're already drugged up at 5 years old and 6 years old? How are we going to make it when they put 100 vaccines into our body before the age of 5? Can anyone tell me that? It's literally impossible. That David Katz, MD, if you go to David Katz, medical doctor from Yale University, has already figured the study out that this is the first generation of children who won't outlive their own parents. Have you heard the statistic yet? That's the reality of what our culture's like. I could keep going through these statistics. Do you want to go to the next slide? To these statistics, but how is the actual culture working? It's not working. It's time for you to realize, though, how are we going to communicate it, and what are the true statistics really happening, and what's happening right now in the world? How is it working? Go ahead and flip through these. The medical model. Go ahead and flip one back. 99% of the world is living in this model, waiting till they're sick to take care of themselves. See, your mom and dad or your relatives or community think that they're not living in the medical model. Why don't take drugs? If you're waiting for a medical test to take care of you, you're living in the medical model. It takes 900 billion cancer cells to form before it's medically noticeable. So if your mom and dad are waiting for their mammogram or their other tests to show them they have cancer or prostate check, it's too late. Does everyone understand that? That most people within 5 to 6 weeks after the diagnosis die. And so the reality is that every medical test in the world, we can come up with better and better and better medical testing, but when will it show us we're sick? After we're sick, it's too late. This is the culture. The culture we live in does all of their testing after they're sick. They think they're doing it beforehand. Medicine is early detection of a disease that's already existing in the body. It's just early detection. It's not early prevention. There is no such thing as early preventative care when it comes to medicine. Medicine is a crisis care system. It is not a health care system. Taking dangerous drugs and vaccines, that's the medical model. Can you take drugs and get health out of your body? So if I had an entire bottle so I'll take the healthiest person here. If I give you an entire bag of drugs, will you ever be healthy? Ever. It would be impossible. Because if I gave you a full bottle of aspirin and you swallowed it, what would happen? You'd die. So how does an aspirin a day help you? How would an aspirin a day bring health? Because that's our culture, right? How is our culture working? Oprah Winfrey had the 2 doctors on there who said, you need to take, they told everyone in our culture, and everyone watches Oprah now and believes it, they told everyone to take an aspirin a day and it's good for your heart. And more, 20% of the population more started taking aspirin a day when they said this. Just because 2 doctors on TV said it without any rationale behind it. So it is true, the blood will thin if you take an aspirin. But if you understand innate and if you understand philosophy, if I give you more and more aspirin over a period of time, what happens to your blood? It thickens itself back up. And you have an 84% chance of a hemorrhagic stroke. Your chance of breast cancer is increased by 50%. So your dad, your grandpa, your relatives who are taking an aspirin a day, their chance of stroke is 84 times greater, and their chance of having breast cancer is 50% greater. If you take an aspirin a day, your chance of pancreatic cancer is 64 times greater. Because if you take 1 aspirin a day, a lot kills you quickly. How does 1 kill you? Kills you slowly, no matter how you change that. Now that's chemistry. Who here took chemistry class? So can I have a little bit of a chemistry and create a different outcome than a lot of chemistry? No, drugs are drugs. Whether it's a little bit of a drug or a lot of drug, it will kill you. Thank God for crisis medicine. Thank God for if my blood pressure skyrocketed for some reason, I wasn't taking care of myself, that they could lower it. But they better figure out how to get me off my drug so I can be back to my health again someday. Does everybody understand that? That drugs were never created for long-term use. They're created for short-term crisis care. But our population and culture thinks that this is health care. It's your job to teach them that this isn't health care. So can you communicate that? Are you going to be able to come out, know these stats like this, and be able to communicate this? What I was training doctors yesterday, what I call a transfer of emotion. Can you emotionally get through to these people that it's going to be them? That I could sit here, and I always say in my class, I can tell you right now, 5 billion people die a year from medicine. Does that affect you guys? You guys didn't even add up the numbers. Could 5 billion people die a year of medicine? Because what would happen? There'd be nobody left. But did you see? I could have said that, went over it, and you guys, because that's the reality. The statistics are just statistics until we make them a reality, until I show you how it's going to affect you in your life. When I make things a reality, that's what I'm trying to teach you today, is how do I make this reality? How do I transfer this feeling I have to really show you that if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you die? Now, Joel and I were talking about this. Make sure I tell you guys, there's one thing, because a lot of you think that what we do in our office is scare tactics. So just be honest. Have you ever heard that or felt that what I do would be a scare tactic toward people? So who here raised your hand? You raised your hand. Is your mom and dad still alive? Okay. So if your mom and dad, who would you want taking care of your mom and dad? Me or the doctor who's not going to tell them these stats and the truth? Who's not going to be focused 100%, who didn't wake up this morning and ate a full body meal. I didn't poison my body, that I was up praying in the morning, that I'm focused on their health and healing, that I will do everything I can that your mom makes it to 100 years old. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if I have to come to our house. Your mom's living to 100. Who do you want taking care of your mom? Me. Who do you want taking care of your family? Me. And who do I want taking care of my family? Maybe you. Do you guys see the difference there? That this is why I am the way I am and we are the way we are. Because I want my mom treated the same way. I want to see my mom and be next to my mom when she's 120 years old. That I want her there. That I want her with her grandkids and her great-great-grandkids. And I want her going to Disney World with us like she does every year. And I want my mom there. And so does she. And you want your family, and when you have your husband, you want to be hand in hand until you're 100 years old. And so I have to do whatever it takes, because if I don't, you die. Does everyone understand that? There's what's called now the law of reversal. Does anyone know what the law of reversal is? The law of reversal states that if you want health, wealth, and prosperity, do the exact opposite of everyone else. That's a law. That wherever the masses are going, you need to go the opposite way. And isn't it true? 99% of the population lives one way, and they die early, and only 1% lives the right way and makes it to 80 to 90 to 100 in great health. It's the same law of reversal also applies to you in school. That if you want a healthy, prosperous, successful, mission-based practice, do the opposite of all your students are doing pretty much, right? Because I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart, and we're not lying to you when we tell you this, that no one hardly in our classes have made it through. And I had 130 in my class, and there's only 6 of us right now, literally 6 of us that we can even come up with who are successful, not by money and not by volume, but are happy in practice. 6 that we know of. And so that's the reality. I don't want to see that happen to you, because look how happy we are. I'm on a Saturday spending my own money away from my family to be here with you because I love chiropractic so much. That you could take away my house, the cars, everything I have. You could take everything away from me, but you can't ever take this away from me. And so I'm happy. This is my mission and vision. Don't take my family, don't take any of my spiritual away from me, and don't take chiropractic from me in this philosophy. I'll live in a trailer, I'll adjust, I'll go for free to the missions, and I'll change and save people's lives. That's happiness, that's success, that's mission. Does everyone feel that? Now, because of that, though, but because that's all our focus is, what do you think we have? Everything else just falls into place, and we don't have to worry about that. I don't worry about money because people hand me millions of dollars every year, literally millions of dollars. And so it's handed to you, because how much is it worth for your mom to live to 100 years old hand in hand in great health? How much would it be worth? It'd be worth millions of dollars. And that's what we have to offer to these people. This is what we're giving to the world. And this is what I need to show you through the next 45 minutes of how are you going to do that. How are you in 6 years? Because I'm hoping to God that you guys do way better than all of us have done. That's our goal. Our goal is that you come out and do what I did in 6 or 7 years, that you do it in 2 years. Because now you have the groundwork, like Dr. Sonia said, ahead of you. We've made all the mistakes. We've done it all. We know what it takes. Now do it 3 times better than we have. It's that simple. But it's all going to start here, and here is where it's going to start tonight. That we need to get this through to you as well, that people are dying. If you think this is scare tactics, I'm sorry, it's the truth. And if the truth is scary, you're right. But people die when we don't tell them the truth. That we can't just sit here and minimize this and go, oh, have a great day today. And then somebody says, yeah, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. Oh, well, I hope everything goes okay. Bullshit, you know. My kids are going for vaccines. It's your job to tell them. Do you think I'm going to scare them on vaccines? I don't know if you call it scaring. I'm going to educate them on vaccines. I'm going to tell them everything no one else told them, and they can make the decision for themselves. I don't tell anyone not to vaccinate their children. I don't tell anyone not to take drugs, and I don't have to tell anyone about anything else. I educate them and communicate through them, transfer this emotional energy, showing them that they want to live this life and they can't live it any other way. So if that's scary to you, then I'm sorry, but who do you want taking care of your mom and dad? Maybe you would want to take care. That's why your mom and dad still aren't under care. That's why your family still is sick. And that's, am I right? That's why they are, because you can't stand up yet to them. Because you can't just stand guard, and finally get so upset and go, here's the reality, mom and dad. You're dying. Your spine's out of alignment. Your shoulders are dropped. Your spine's decaying. You generated 7% a year. You don't take care of yourself. You're overweight. You haven't exercised. You eat terrible. On and on. Your parents aren't making it. These are called laws. There are laws of the universe, and there are laws that can't be broken. If your spine is out of alignment, it is a law. You die. It is a fact. If you're not putting the right amount of nutrients into your body and it's able to absorb it, you die. Those are facts. You don't see too many people. Anyone that studied longevity yet? Because I've had the privilege of now, this is on my 9th year, that's what I do. I have the Okinawan books and all the Okinawan studies and the China studies, and I'm literally studying cultures that live to this age. And guess how many are overweight in those cultures who live to those age? None of them. None of them. And these people would be living a lot longer if they had one thing. What is that? Chiropractic. That's the only thing they're missing as they get older. They're degenerating faster. And they're making it to 100, 107. If they had chiropractic, they'd make it longer, without a question. But why do some of them make it longer without chiropractic? Because they don't do the damage to the nerve systems. They don't do as much as we do to ourselves. Because the number one stress on your body is what? That causes subluxation. What's number one? Thought. Thought. It's thought. Study the Okinawans, study the Chinese. They don't have that many stresses in their life. They have one less subluxation. They don't go through the normal birth process. So if you look at their longevity, they didn't go through the subluxation process like we went through. We were destroyed from birth, and it never ended. They weren't. So thank God they were lucky enough. We're not. These are laws. Your mom and dad won't make it. You won't make it. The community doesn't make it. No one makes it to this 80 to 100 years old. And as I sit in my doctor's report, and I kind of open up like that, I literally start pointing people out. And I literally talk to them because I'll point to the dad who's 50 years old, and I said, what's your ultimate goal in life? You know, Isaac, what's your dad's goal in life? He's working right now to finally do what? What's your dad working to finally do one day?
He wants to run seminars to help other people
reach their goals. He has a mission and a vision and a goal in his life. He's making his money to retire, to do what he wants to do the rest of his life, spend it with your mom, be there for you and watch you. The reality is, I don't know about his dad, but the reality is in my audience, it's not going to happen to you. You're not going to be there. Only one person in this, not even in this room, is going to make it to 80 to 100. So can you imagine your mom and dad are working their whole entire life, or you're going to work your whole entire life to finally retire when you're 65 and you die? That's the reality. Or you're sitting in a nursing home, like Dr. Joel said, or you're on drugs and you're miserable and you can't do what you love to do. There are literally, I have 27-year-olds who come in my office who can't even do what they want to do anymore. I have 30-year-olds. I have 18-year-olds. So this isn't happening now when you're 50 or 60. The reality is it's happening now to these people. That we can't let this happen any longer. So when we talk about these scare tactics, is that okay that we're not there to scare them because we're trying to make money off of them? We're not trying to scare them to get care because we want their money. We're trying to get them under our care by using the truth of what's going to happen to them. If you guys can't handle that, then you're right. This probably isn't the best mission or vision to be on in the world. Does everyone understand that? It probably isn't. Because the reality is you were called and chosen to save people's lives, transform your community, make this a better world, and the only way we're going to do that is through the right communication. We can sit there and say, oh, chiropractic's great, and you can express more life, and it's going to be a great day, let's get you adjusted, awesome. And then they go back home and take their drugs, end up back at the doctors, not understand anything that's going on. They need to understand, our community needs to understand what they're living in. We have to transform them out of their culture. They're walking in over here in their culture they live in, and we need to take them over to there. Does everyone understand that? That is not the first thing you have to do. They're living here. I need to bring them over to here. And if I don't do it, remember, they can't stay here. You can't be in between. If your patients are in between, they're leaving you soon. My patients, I want them staying for how long in my office? Forever. I mean, how long do you want your mom and dad in my office? How long do you want them living a maximized life? It's forever. And you can't live forever in this realm. Does that mean we never show up at a medical doctor's office ever in our lifetime? No, God, no. It's crisis care. It's crisis care. They understand that because I communicate and educate with them that thank God for this. That sometimes you're not going to take care of yourself. Sometimes you're going to have falls and traumas. Sometimes there's going to be things that you may need emergency things for. That's okay. We'll know when it is and when it isn't. And when you have to take something, we're going to get you back in here, get your body back to where it is, and get you cleansed back out. It's okay. We don't want them to have to go there, but they understand that it's not that we're never going there again. They understand medicine's purpose. And thank God for it. It'll save our life in a crisis. But it's never brought health ever into the world. Does everybody understand that? It's never brought health. Journal of American Medical Association, year 2000 said, medicine has never, ever changed the face of the earth. It's caused more death. That's the Journal of American Medical Association. That it's responsible now for millions of people dying a year taking drugs. So this is their own research. And what I'm telling you guys here is this is their own research, that when you give a child antibiotics in their first 2 years of life, remember, 90% of all kids get antibiotics, you triple the risk of asthma. Now, I'm not sure what you understand by that. If you get asthma and you take an inhaler, now what happens to you? You increase your risk of cardiovascular and heart disease by 100 times. Because what is it? What's a bronchodilator? It's what? It's a steroid. It's a bronchodilator, and it dilates what other muscle? The heart. You die. It speeds up your heart. Who here has ever had a puffer? Does your heart speed up? Yeah. So if you keep speeding your heart up, what's going to happen eventually? You die. And so it kills you faster. So now we have kids, they're putting them on this cocktail of drugs, destroying their immune system and subluxating them. Then they end up with all these other diseases, and they're putting them on more drugs. And now now remember, 50% of kids have asthma, so now they're sped up. So now they go into 5th grade. Now what drug are they on? Now they're on Ritalin, which is a form of cocaine, which is known to cause brain cancer, which the maker of Ritalin is still being sued right now for its complications and what it does. It destroys the brain and causes brain cancer. That's why you don't hear Ritalin. It's not called Ritalin anymore, even though it is, because it's such a bad name. Does everybody understand even that logic? They had to change the name of Ritalin now to Adderall, and now Adderall is getting such a bad name because what's happened to Adderall? It's killing kids, so now they'll just change the name to something else. That's the reality of what happens. And so how is our culture working? 50% of all 8th graders, they're not taking smoking and drinking as much anymore. What are they taking? What? Pharmaceutical medications. That at least one out of every 2 children have admitted in 8th grade that were taken in the study have admitted to abusing a prescription drug already. Could you imagine? A lot of you were just in 8th grade, 5-10 years ago, whatever it was. Did any of you honestly, could you even imagine? Yeah, I can see people drank alcohol or something when I was in 8th grade, and you get drunk once in a while, somebody steals something. But can you imagine getting high on Vicodin and snorting Ritalin when you were in 8th grade? 50%? That means, now how is that working as a culture? So I need to explain this to my parents. Do you understand the reality of what's happening out in the world? That the chance of your child snorting drugs already in 8th grade is 50%. It's never been that high before. Because what do these children see every day? On TV, from their mom and dad, drug after drug after drug. That's our culture. So now, how big is this problem? Not only are our parents going to die early from this culture, what's happening to our children? They're becoming drugged up, never making it to their full potential. Because if a child starts taking drugs when they're younger, their chance of taking it when they're older is almost guaranteed. Almost guaranteed unless you can get to them fast enough and reverse it. So now you got a child getting high in 8th grade. All they've learned is when I feel bad, I take drugs. What do they do when they're older? They take drugs. This is our culture. So just, can you imagine that if we don't get out there now, change this, what's going to happen in 30 years from now? We've seen nothing yet. We've seen nothing what could possibly happen to this country and to this world right now if we're not there as a leader. So do you feel me why when we talk about these scare tactics? This is the reality. My children, I have a 5-year-old right now who's going to be obviously in 8th grade one day. I can't imagine him already doing these things to his body if I'm not there as his role model. The problem is these kids don't have other role models. I'm their role model. My kids are going to be their role model, that we're living that maximized living life in our town. And that's what they're going to see. So how is our culture working? Remember, 1%, they always say these statistics, 7% of the population is under chiropractic. What is it now? Does anyone know the stats? Yeah. Actively under chiropractic care is 1.5%. There goes our numbers again. If you want the law of reversal, if you want health, wealth, and prosperity, do the exact opposite of everyone else. Fix your darn spines. You see, because no one does it. You degenerate 7% a year once you're subluxated. You die faster. And so there's the reality. Not following a Body by God nutrition plan. God gave us a plan of eating, whether you think it's nature or God, ours is God, that we know how to eat, what we should be eating, what we should be doing with our bodies on a regular basis. There is a plan for our body, that when you were created for how many years of health? Harvard Medical now says 130. I'm still going with the Bible, it's 120. But 120 years. You are genetically programmed for 120 years as long as you do what you're supposed to do and live that life. If you are on a health development program for the rest of your life, you will make it to there. If you're living maximized living, your chances are what? Probably 100 times increased. Now, does everybody understand that reality that you were created, that my child, you have a 12-week-old baby up there, that baby is only created for 120 years of health and nothing else? Then why is it that we're only making it to 40 years? Because something's interfering with us. Something's interfering with that. Not exercising on a regular basis. You have to have oxygen in your body to survive. Does everyone understand that? You cannot live without a certain amount of oxygen in the body. Through cardiovascular, through muscle training, that when you do these things, you bring more oxygen in the body. As soon as you get up to even run out of here, your heart's going to last longer by doing that. That these are laws. That the more you work your heart, it's a muscle, the longer you live. And so these are laws that can't be broken, that need to be in your life. I'll go to the next slide. So because of this lifestyle, our culture, every 30 seconds someone's diagnosed with cancer. Every 30 seconds. Again, you're thinking, it's not going to happen to me, or it's not going to happen to my mom and dad. Sorry, it did or already has. And it will. How is it going to skip your mom and dad when they're not getting adjusted, when they're not eating right, when they're not exercising, and they're destroying their body and they're toxic? How is it not going to happen to your family and the rest of our community when that's the way they live? Can someone tell me that? It's impossible. So how is it then when your parents already have, or you already have a lot of the warning signs, allergies, getting colds more often, the eczemas when you're younger, being on the drugs, these are all warning signs. Headaches, these are all warning signs that they're already damaged to your spinal cord and nerve system. Your body's giving you warning signs. Allergies are a warning sign that your immune system's damaged. Those of you who had your tonsils out when you're younger, you've been subluxated since birth. The nerves in your neck have shut down, and you've probably never fixed them to this day. And how do I know that that students haven't fixed their necks? Because I have preceptors at my office, and what's the first thing I do the first day they get in my office? What do I take a picture of? Their neck. Go take a picture of your neck. Guarantee you 9 out of 10 people in this room are still severely subluxated with a zero curve in their neck at least. Does anyone want to, maybe some of you know you're getting better at it, but I've never had a preceptor come in without a zero curve in their neck. That's severely subluxated because you guys forget to pay attention to something when you're in school. And what is that? Your health in your spine. Destroyed. You guys have hit each other left and right, every which way but loose. You've nailed each other both sides. You have no clue anymore. It's not that we're not telling you not to practice, but then go outside the office and get this thing fixed, because you need to fix it. Because now I spend the first 3 months with these students fixing their spines. First 3 months, 2 to 3 times a day they come in the office to fix their spine. 2 to 3 times. And in 3 months we still can't get to where we were because they destroyed it for so long. So that's the reality, that even yourselves aren't taking care of your spines and nerve systems. 8.9 million people in the U.S. have cancer right now and growing. 2 people die a minute of medications. So by the time we get done today, it's like 100 people have died. And to me, that's not okay. See, to you, it's okay until it happens to who? You or someone you love or you know. And then when it happens to someone you love or you know, you wished you would have scared them into it at least, or whatever you call that, or told them the truth. See, if I don't care what it takes, I need to get through to my community and my culture of what's happening. 1 million people die a year of medicine. Now that's actually, sorry, I have a number wrong. There are 100 million people in the U.S. with autoimmune diseases. Does anyone know what an autoimmune disease is? Their nervous system and immune system is out of control and their body attacks itself. Do you know that we're out of all the countries in the world, in North America, we have all the autoimmune diseases more than all the other countries combined? Did anyone know that statistic? We have it all here. We have it all. Go to other countries, they don't know what autoimmunity is. Not that they can't diagnose it, it just really doesn't exist. It's very rare. Because something we do in our culture kills us faster than anyone else. And what is that? One is medicine, but it's not totally medicine. We're going to hit that in a second. Highest in infant mortality rate right now. That means, does everyone understand what that means? Those of you who are going to have a baby? The stupidest place you could ever have a child and the most dangerous is a hospital in the United States. This is what they're telling us. So a lot of you are like, these are your stats. These are not my stats. I have no idea how they come up with them, what they do. These are statistics. In the 1 Minute Wellness book, these are all documented for you. So you can see the actual statistics of what's happening. First time in history in this generation of children will die before their parents. Do you understand that? Are you communicating that through to the public? Do these parents understand? They'll sit in my front row and I'll literally look at them and say, can you imagine? Because when you're burying your child at 50, whose fault is that? Whose fault is it? It's yours. It's yours. And so is that harsh, I said? You better believe it's harsh. But somehow they listen and somehow they keep coming back, and thousands of people come in my office a week and bring people by the dozens. Why? Because they want to live that life. They want to be around the fanatic. They want to be around this person who has the potential of creating God's healing in their body. I'll go through all of my miracle stories and cancer stories and everything. Then who would you want your mom to be under? Me. So my fanatical, you'd better believe it. I tell stories. The patient walks out. I am never ending. The way I'm talking to you now is how I talk all day long to patients. The whole entire day. Do they love it or hate it? I have no idea. Don't care what they think. My job is to save your life. My job is to get you to live to 100 years old. That is my job. That's what you came here for. That's what you signed on the line for. And that's what you paid me for. How much is that worth? It's millions of dollars. It's millions of dollars. I guess let's not even put that. You couldn't put a price on that. How many of you who lost a loved one would give everything you have, even give up school if you had to have a loved one back to spend time with you? You'd give it all up again. So reality is what would you give then to stop people from ever dying early? You'd give it all. So are you giving it all? Are you training right now? Are you learning how to communicate this? Are you learning your stats? Are you learning how to transfer this emotion to these people so they can have the realization that if they don't do what it takes right now, they die? That the reality is during my doctor's reports, I need to show them that the model they're living in isn't working anymore. It doesn't work. I don't care how long it takes me. I don't care how I had to do it. If I had to scream, shout, yell, or be compassionate, loving, cry, whatever it takes, I need to get through to you. If I need to hold you down, it doesn't matter. My job is to keep you alive. Next slide. So what is the cause of someone taking medicine? What is the cause of someone developing heart disease? What is the cause of someone developing cancer? Because that's what's going to take 99% of people's lives right there alone. Those are the things. Before the age of 60, most people will die or be affected by these three things. But medicine isn't killing us, because just like Dr. Joel said, there are people who make it past certain ages on medicine. There are people who eat terrible and don't exercise and make it without heart disease and live to 80. So next slide. So what is the number one cause of death in the world? What is it? What is it? It's amazing, because I went to Palmer South and I did kind of almost the same thing, and I'm not allowed back, that tells you. But no one said subluxation, very rarely there. And so obviously, thank God for you guys, because you guys are way ahead, way ahead. And I felt for them. And after I started going through my talk like this, I stopped halfway through and just pretty much started yelling at them, going, "You're screwed," pretty much. You're screwed. As a chiropractor, because in that school, they are taught the number one thing to give to people is what? Nutrition. They're taught all about nutrition through that school. And the reality is, so then I said, I just stopped right there, and then I started going through the reality that I can get nutrition everywhere, can I? That my patients, I just got another letter, my patient's selling some of the top nutrition right now in the country, she says. My patients sell it. GNC sells it. Everyone sells nutrition right now. Everyone's on the fad kicks, everyone's doing this, and everyone's doing that. So you think you're going to come out and set up a practice based on giving people just nutrition. You think that's it? And I kept going through reality. So tell me what you're going to do. Show me your ideal practice, and tell me how you're going to start getting your first patient based on nutrition alone. Just tell me how you're going to do it. And somebody raised their hand and kind of tell me a little bit. It just made no sense. And I started really getting them angry. And that was my point. Don't care if I come back. My point is to inspire you to make a difference that you cannot, that if we don't have you behind us in this mission and vision, people die. And that's not the worst part. You die sooner. You don't have your mission and vision. Because the worst part about life is dying with the music still in you. Have you heard that? That's the worst part. The worst part of life, if you talk to anyone, if you read books on this, it's the regret, isn't it? It's the regret. It's the regret. We don't want you to ever have a regret in your life. Can you imagine that regret? Can you imagine if you never even came to chiropractic school, the regret you would have had? Can you imagine the regret you're going to have when you're 90, not doing what you were supposed to do? See, are you going to have any regrets? No regrets. You know, it's one of my intentions in the morning that I have big in there. It's no regrets. I will never have a regret in my life. That I will do everything to 110% in every aspect of my life to have no regrets in any aspect of my life. So when I die, whether it's 90, 100, 120, that there were no regrets. Because every time I eat, I don't eat for me. I eat for God. I eat for my family. Then I eat for me. Because my job is to be there when my children are older. My job is to be there to see my great-grandkids graduate school. My objective and intention in life is to be hand in hand with my wife till we're 100 years old. Healthy. Doing everything we love to do together. This is a short life. And it's going to be over quick. And so every year, extra days, anything we can have in our life is going to be worth it. Don't have a regret of anything you've ever done, ever in your life. Subluxation. So did you fully understand that? Do you fully understand and able to communicate that this is an absolute? Subluxation is by far, without a doubt, the number one cause of death in the United States and in America and in the world. It's the number one cause of death. It kills you faster than anything else. Next slide. So 2 million people a year are dying because of what? It's because of their philosophy. Remember that our job isn't only to adjust them, it's to communicate this inside-out philosophy. That health does not come from outside. There's nothing from outside that will bring you health. Health comes from within. It doesn't matter what pill shot. If I cut your leg, what happens? It heals. I don't need to put a Band-Aid on it. I don't have to put anything on it. Your cut will heal. Nothing will heal that cut except for your body. That's how amazing you are. God put this amazing healing power inside of you that when I cut your leg, it heals. So if your cuts are healing, why aren't your hearts healing? Why aren't your lungs healing? Why aren't your stomachs healing? Why aren't your low back pains healing? Why aren't your ulcers healing? Because something's blocking what? Your healing. Something blocks your healing. All healing comes from the brain, down the spinal cord, through the nerve system. Healing comes from within. If I cut you, it would heal. How amazing is that? Without thinking about it, without knowing it, I cut you, you heal. Then why won't your body heal from everything else? Because something blocks its healing. Something interferes. God needs no help healing you. God doesn't need any what? No interference. That you were created to heal and you were created to live to this 120 years of good health as long as nothing interferes with your healing. Nothing interferes. Next slide. So the three most common answers, though, that I get in the public or even any talk is that if I feed my kids the right thing, if I exercise and sleep, I'm going to stay healthy for the rest of my life. Does everyone hear that? And so, do we know anyone who eats terrible and lives to 90? Anyone who doesn't exercise? If you study longevity, you barely see, especially in the United States, there's no 100-year-olds who still exercise, very rarely some. In sleep, they don't sleep anymore as you get older very often. There's people who don't sleep much and make it. So how is it that someone can do everything wrong and still make it to 90? Because of how? It's because the nervous system's clear. It's because they have no subluxation. They're functioning at a higher level. It may not be 100, but maybe 95 or 96 or 97. But whatever you function at, the more you function, the longer you live. That's a fact. Next slide. So what is health? A lot of you, I don't know if you've ever saw this. What is health? It's real simple. Do you even know how they came up with this definition of health? Does anyone know how they actually came up with the definition? What's that? A lot of you already know the definition, but the definition is inside the word. Did you know that already? Isn't that amazing? That's how they came up with the word. What's the first four letters? It's heal. It's when you're healing at 100%. Doesn't matter what you're putting in. Doesn't matter what's on you. Doesn't matter about anything else. It's how you're healing and how you're functioning. That's all that matters. That is health. Healing at 100%. And we all know what controls all the healing in our body is what? The nerve system. The nerve system controls all healing in the body. That's how amazing it is. When I cut your leg, the brain sends a message down through the nerve system into the body to clot your blood, to heal your leg so you live. The job of the brain is to keep you alive 120 years, and that's its only job. That's what God created for you. It's its job. It needs to keep you living for 120 years. It's its goal. It's its genetic potential. It's your framework and blueprint of your body is to keep you running that long. As long as it's not interfered with, it will live and heal you until you're 120 years old. How amazing is that? That we are the only profession in the world that can remove interferences and get people healing at 100%. Do you guys understand that? Name another profession that does that. Name another profession who deals in the nerve system. What controls all healing? The nerve system. What other profession deals in the nerve system? Our bodies are self-healing and self-regulating. If I cut your finger, it heals. The nerve system controls all interfering. And if I interfere with it, what happens? You don't heal. And if you don't heal, you die. Those are laws. And we're the only ones who can do that. We're the only ones who monitor and measure the nerve system. So now, your parents, your children, whoever you want to say, have been going to doctors for years, and have they once looked at their healing? Have they once looked at their nerve system? So how can this medical system ever bring health into individuals when it never deals in the nerve system? Can someone tell me that? It's impossible. So now, why is our culture dying? Why are these stats happening? Because our whole culture lives in a medical model that can never bring health care into the world. Now everybody understands that? It would be impossible. Based upon the laws of how the body works, they measure disease after you're not healing well is when disease shows up. It's too late. Our profession monitors and measures it before you ever get sick, and if you are sick, we get you back to health through the nerve system. Who else does that? What other profession has computer technology that can measure a nerve going into an organ before it fails and know if it's damaged or not? Any other profession? How much is it worth for your mom to walk into my office and I know that her nerve is damaged into her heart right now and before she knew it and I could clear it up? How much would that be worth? See, how much is all this worth? Our exam process alone. How much is it worth to see someone whose head pulls forward like this and get it changed? Just to find that subluxation? Because remember, doctors do it all the time. They shoot MRIs. They do scans. They do testing. But what do they do with the tests? Can anyone tell me? So when they shoot an MRI, what do they do with that MRI? Huh? So they find subluxation. If you have a herniated disc, you have a severe subluxation in your lower back. What do? They cut it or they fuse it. They cut it or they fuse it, leaving what there still? The subluxation. But listen to this. Now this came out of the Journal of American Medical Association. It says back surgery or waiting, no difference in outcomes. Literally, this is the Journal of American Medical Association. Billions of dollars are spent a year, $50 billion are spent a year on back surgeries, and they said right here, the results from the 2-year study showed that patients in both surgery and non-surgery groups improved substantially the same. People with ruptured disc in their lower backs and people with sciatica recover without surgery, and very important, there is no harm in ever waiting. I mean, this is it, right from their article saying everything we do is useless. See, a lot of people think, well, I had to have a surgery. Well, they're telling you don't even have the surgery. Number one, once you have a surgery, we'll never ever get your spine back to normal ever again. We can at least help you out, but once you fuse, cut, or mess around, or cut the ligaments, you're going to weaken the body, you're going to stay subluxated longer. You'll never get to 100%. It's impossible. Impossible. And now they're telling you just don't even do it. Yet, how many surgeries were done today already? I mean, this is what's happening in medicine now. Don't treat your child's ears. Who saw this with antibiotics? This is huge. Because for the last 20 years, what have they been giving kids for antibiotics? Or for ear infections? Antibiotics, and it's a viral infection. They're telling them, this came out of the Science Daily and Clinical Infectious Disease report saying, never give another child another antibiotic for an ear infection. Yet, how many people do you think today got an antibiotic for an ear infection? 95% of them again today. Because they don't listen and read their own friggin' studies. They're killing these kids. They don't read their studies. It's my job to show your mom when you were younger, to show her and prove to her, quit doing these things. Number one, they don't work. Number two, you're destroying the body. And number three, they're telling you not to do it. But what else are the doctors going to do? They have nothing else. Tell me what else your doctor can do for you. Tell me how your doctor can monitor your child's health for the rest of your life. That's our culture. Your patients are going to take their children to the pediatrician every year for the rest of their life. And when is your pediatrician ever going to get your child healthy? Never. They're going to wait till they're sick. Do you see why these children are dying now before the age of 60? Because they're not in a health development program. Are you seeing right now about 3/4 of the way through? Because you see how I can get an audience to bring in the rest of their family and to stay with me the rest of your life? Can people start to see that now? Because I took them, showed them their culture isn't working, impossible. I showed them what they need, and now I'm going to show them what they need to do. Now, obviously, this isn't a doctor's report. This was for you, but this is the same thing. They're in a culture. I need to take them out of that culture they live in. And if you don't take them out of it and show them that it's failing, they're going to go right back living in there again, thinking it's safe. We have to get them out of this model. Next slide. So there's the picture. Those of you who know how to read that, picture on the left, what do we see? What's that? Do you guys study this in school, this book? You guys have this book in school? What's that? This is the book you have. This is the anatomy of subluxation. This is an actual book. This picture on the left, you can see on the spinal cord in this position is nice and relaxed. It's in between a 39 to 42 degree angle, depending on which way you guys measure the angles. There's not a lot of pressure. The back of the cord has a little bit of pressure on the back. But the spinal cord's in a relaxed position. You can see through there. That's pathological tension right there, what they call pathological tension. Who's going to get cancer first, the one on the left or the one on the right? Guaranteed? Guaranteed. Regardless of what they're doing in their life, the person on the right is guaranteed that this is pathological tension, which study after study, Dr. Joel showed it, that this came out of the Health Day News, shrinking 3 centimeters, that when someone's head posture goes up, back, and forward, and they lose this curve, when they lose those centimeters, they have a 64% chance of suffering a coronary heart disease. Coronary heart disease. Why? Because you're putting pathological tension on the bottom. Remember, your head weighs 25 pounds, and when it goes even a centimeter or two in front, it puts pressure. It's just physics. Who took physics here? It's physics. When you have an arc there, everything's relaxed. When you go forward, it puts tension and pathological tension right there. It destroys the bottom of the spinal cord, C7, T1, T2. It destroys the heart. You can't live that way. It's like somebody taking a string and just tying it around that nerve right there and slowly just pulling it tighter. You die faster. These are laws. That what if this person here on the left, smoked every single day and eats terrible every day, and this person eats perfect and exercises, who still gets cancer first? The one on the right does. Because the job of the brain is to keep the body alive how many years? 120 years. It will figure out what it needs to do. It will, because you have what's called a detoxification process. Your brain will get to the body, detox what it has to do, flush it out of your body, throw up, diarrhea, all those nice healthy responses. It'll keep you living as long as you can, because that's its only job, and it can get to the body to do that. As long as your brain can get to the body, your body will survive 120 years. If this person exercises, actually, they will die sooner. Did you guys know that? Wolff's Law, what's Wolff's Law state? What's that? Calcium builds upon? Yeah. More stress on the body, and the more stress you keep putting on it, the more you're going to get more calcium and degeneration. So if my hips are off balance and my head's forward, and I decide to move even more on this spine, and it's rocking more, what am I going to cause? More damage. So do you realize these patients think that they're going to go to the gym January 1st and get healthy, and they're going to end up in the grave sooner because they're exercising on a spine that's damaged and degenerated with a forward head posture? Does everybody understand that? That you think you're going to go up there and exercise, you're putting yourself, you may as well just lay in bed and not move, because that's the only way you're going to make it through. You're subluxated. The research shows that if you have subluxation, you degenerate 7% every single year. And if you exercise on that, you'll speed that up even faster. If you lose the curve in your neck, you lose 10 to 15 years off your life. Cervical kyphosis or straight neck takes 10 to 15 years, guaranteed right off your life. So how many of you already, if I took your x-ray, have that? Next slide. Now watch what happens. And this is what's amazing. When you're in practice long enough, come to my practice. I will show you 90-year-old after 90-year-old after 90-year-old's x-rays, and you will not see the left or the right on a 90-year-old's x-ray. Even at 90, you won't see it. At least they don't come into my office, because that person on the left maybe is in my office, but the person on the right, where are they at? They're either dead or they're in a nursing home. That's where they live. They cannot possibly function or survive. And thank God, I guess, for modern medicine, this is how my wife's aunt or my wife's great-grandma looks, because my wife's great-grandma at 78 years old sits in a bed and lays there. Her spine's rotted and decayed. She's stroked out, and she lives on insulin, and she lives on Xanax every day, and that's it. You can talk to her after she takes her Xanax, and then it wears off in 10 minutes. And if you want to stay there, they have to give her more drugs. That's how she lives her life. And so no matter, her wife keeps going, you got to keep adjusting. And I'm like, I'm going to keep adjusting her so she can express more life, but we're not getting your grandma back. Where was your grandma at, 30, 40 years ago? Where was she at when somebody should have screamed at her, yelled at her, drug her into the office, and told her what she needed to have done so she could have been there for her great-grandkids? And now she's dying and miserable, and literally every day we walk in there on Sunday, the whole family cries, because all grandma does is cries and says, I want to die. Can you imagine that? Laying in a bed, and she's been there for 2.5 years and saying she wanted to die. No clue how she has it yet. She wants to die. Can you imagine that life at 70-some years old when you're supposed to live to 120? And I can't even tell you her last 20 years has been terrible too. At least the last 2 have been in a bed. So that's the reality. Look at the spinal cord. Look, you're going to tell me that that person there can live long? The spinal cord is literally 1/4 of the size. Nothing can flow through there hardly anymore. The body shuts down. And so is that what we want for ourselves? That's the reality. That's what's happening to people right now. If you have subluxation, you degenerate, you die faster. It shuts nerves and organs down in the body. That is an absolute. It's not a belief system, because I guarantee you, and I do this in my doctor's report, if I take the spine and I put it into scoliosis, is that person healthy or sick? Sick. If I took you to every pediatrician in this whole entire area here, would he tell me whether or not that child's healthy or sick? Every pediatrician would tell you what? With scoliosis. Bad scoliosis, a pediatrician would tell you they're what? They'll tell you they're sick, and they want something done immediately about it. If I take you to the best neurosurgeons in the world with a 40-degree scoliosis, what will they tell you? You're sick, your organs will shut down faster. So, do all medical doctors and orthopedics understand the spine destroys the organs? Yes or no? Yes. So I love it when they'll say to me, "Do you really think chiropractic will affect the organs, or subluxation, or the spine affects the organs?" Well, tell me this. If you have scoliosis, will it shut your organs down? Well, yeah. And if I fix your scoliosis, will your organs work better? Yeah, that's chiropractic. Does everybody understand that? That's the simple. So if anyone ever tells you, I don't know if I believe in chiropractic, well, do you think scoliosis is good? They'd say no. The actuarial scientists, Dr. Joel said, actuarial scientists who are the number crunchers who figure out how long you're going to live know that if you smoke a certain amount of years are off your life, and if you have scoliosis, it's 15 to 20 years off. They know it better than we know it. So if you fix the scoliosis, how many years on your life is it? 15 to 20 years. Whether you believe it or not, you add 15 to 20 years of life based on science and statistics and numbers. People live longer who don't have scoliosis. So it's time to get this out to the community. It's time for you to understand subluxation kills, whether you believe it or not, or whether you know it or not. It destroys the body, it destroys humanity. It is the #1 cause of death. There are people who eat well every day and exercise. If they're subluxated, well, thank God. If you're subluxated, you better at least be eat well and exercise. At least you'll get some years on your life, but you'll still never make it to your full potential. It's impossible. Next slide. This is great. I want to show you where medicine is literally going right now. A lot of you, now this is what I had to do a lot at other schools because you guys are there, but look at where they're going now. This came out of BBC News. Researchers are trying to improve the odds of undetected cancer spreading by boosting the body's own immune system. By boosting the body's immune system. That they're finally starting to realize in medicine, in all the studies, that if someone has cancer, the best way to get through cancer is by doing what? Boosting the immune system. There's only one way you'll ever get cancer. Does anyone know? A weak immune system. That's it. And so the only way to get through cancer is to boost the immune system. What controls the immune system? The nerve system. What causes cancer? It's subluxation. Trust me, do vaccines cause cancer? They contribute to cancer. If you're subluxated and you get vaccine and your body can't get rid of all those toxins, you will get cancer. Is it a maybe? It is a fact. You can't put all those toxic and chemicals and mercury and aluminum and formaldehydes in your body and aborted fetuses and leukemia cells and not get cancer over time if your immune system's shot. But this study here was out of the New England Journal of Medicine. Chemotherapy now causes cancer. Did you guys see this? A study of over 10,000 patients show clearly that chemo's strong record is actually a lie. Patients who underwent chemo were 14 times more likely to develop leukemia and 6 times more likely to develop cancer of the bones, joints, and soft tissues. So here's our culture. Waiting until they're sick to take care of themselves, thinking chemo is going to help them, and chemo kills them. The only people who get through cancer and live are the ones who change what? Their lifestyle. That's a fact. They've already proven it. Somehow, Dana Reeves has all the money in the world, gets cancer. She had a great lifestyle, they said. Yoga, did all these healthy things, gets lung cancer, and what happens 3 months later? She's dead during chemo. And so that's the reality, that chemotherapy kills us. That this is what they're telling us. Above it was another article, I did this for my patients, USA Today, if you don't, at least if you're not interested in living and you want to at least save your money, cancer is now $10,000. Just one of their drugs you have to get a month is $10,000 a month. It'll cost you at least $130,000. And guess what insurance is saying now? We're not going to pay it anymore. You get cancer, you're screwed. That's what they said. Because these insurance companies will not pay $10,000 for one of these drugs, and the pharmaceutical companies said, we're not budging, you're paying 10, because they know they got you. Cancer drugs were the only drugs to go up, that went up 16% a year. And the 16% a year, because they know they got you. They know you'll go remortgage your house, they know you'll borrow the money, you'll put a can out at the gas stations, and you'll figure out how to get your health. So then why aren't your patients, why aren't they going to pay thousands of dollars to never get cancer, right? If your patients would pay, if you would pay everything in the world to get rid of your cancer, what would you pay to never get cancer? What would you pay to live this maximized living life? What would you pay to have a clear nerve system? What would you pay to live the life that we're teaching you to live? What would you pay to have your mom coached by me on a regular basis to live to 100 years old? You'd pay everything. Go put a can out at your gas station because you need chiropractic care for the rest of your life. Does everybody understand what that? That's what they need. So borrow the money, give up your kids' college funds, whatever it takes. They can go borrow the money like I did, but it's time to get your care. Because that's what we say in the rooms. They'll go in the rooms and say, I don't know if we can afford it or not. Kid's got a college fund, right? Yep. Well, you're not going to be around anyway to see them, so you may as well use the money. That's literally the fact. The fact is, and I usually say this to them, I paid for my college. Anybody here not pay for their, we borrowed all the money. Borrowed all the money. What are they doing? No offense, my kids, I have no college fund saving. My kids are paying for their college. I'll have it all. If they graduate, maybe I'll hand them some money. They're paying for their college. That's a whole nother story for you, but my wife kind of is disagreeing with this, but she didn't go to college, so she doesn't understand it. They're paying for their college. That's the deal. You borrow the money like I did at whatever the percent interest was, and you pay the darn thing back. I'm not handing you the money. I did it. If you graduate, maybe I'll pay it later on, but the fact is, borrow the friggin' money, take it out of the accounts, take your retirement, because guess what? You're going to die anyway. Get the money out. And I talk like this in my doctor's report, so I don't have to do it individually. But I'll say this during my doctor's report. A lot of you are going to say you can't afford it. You cannot afford not to be here the rest of your life. Because you're going to leave here and die early. How much is that worth? You're going to go into a model that doesn't work anymore. You're going to stay sick. Your bones are going to rot, degenerate. You'll never spend the money anyway. So you may as well borrow it now. Work some overtime because you're going to be feeling better. Make the money back and live that incredible life. Because I'll guarantee you at 65, you'd rather have no money and have your health than have your money. Yes or no? Yeah. That's the truth. So that needs to be said at every doctor's report because that's the truth. Because once your health is gone, you cannot pay for it again anyway. It's gone. So you may as well, then you can go work at McDonald's or something and have your health back instead of trying to retire. Because that's the reality. Because you're not going on vacation anyway with your wife because you're going to be dead or diseased and rotted on drugs and spending all your money. If you look at any Forbes magazine now, any of you who read business magazines, where is all the retirement money going now? All of it's gone to where? Healthcare. Gone. It's gone. Read it right now. Start looking at where the money is. There is no more money left in retirement. And when you guys get older, and when your children get older, there is no Medicare. Medicare is going bankrupt, and it probably won't be there. There is no healthcare system left. There is no money left. They better learn to take care of themselves and pay cash for it. Because if you want to be healthy in the United States or in Canada, how do you pay for it? You pay cash for that. That's how you pay for your healthcare. And who wouldn't pay that? Who wouldn't pay to have this incredible life for the rest of life? Who wouldn't pay that kind of money? You know, once you can show them where they're at, where they're going to be headed, show them on this road, and then show them what you have to offer, this incredible life, who wouldn't pay you and hand you $2,000 or $3,000 to take care of them, another $2,000 for their kid, and another $2,000 for the other kid, and hand you $8,000 a year for their family? Because a lot of you are saying, there's no way you couldn't do it right now. But come to my office, I'll take you through a program, you'd figure out how to get the money. Because I'm not letting you leave, because I wouldn't let your mom leave till she figured it out. So is that hardcore sales? Is it fear? Is it scare? No, it's the truth. I'm going to take care of them like I'd want you to take care of my mom. I wouldn't want my mom to have any care less than what I would give to you. And that's the same care I give to everyone. If my mom missed appointments, guess what? Put her in a room, sit her down, get on her. Hey, come to my house when I go there. I'll be there tomorrow at my mom's house. The first thing we get there, she gets all her nutrition when I get there. I check her bottles when I get there to make sure I don't know if she either is going to have to pour it out, which she won't do because I pay for it a lot of times. But I check her stuff. I check how many times she went to the gym because I have a trainer for her. I check because her chiropractor is my chiropractor, one of my chiropractors. I know everything she does. And guess what? And my wife will say, settle down on her. I am not settling down on her. I will spend the first 10 minutes of every weekend I go home with my mom telling her about her health because I know what's going to happen to her if I don't. And she will get a little angry with me like your parents do in the beginning, but after 10 minutes, you know what she always says every time? Thanks. They just don't want to do it because it's hard work. And they need that coach. They need you there. They need you guiding them. And your patients need the same thing. Because after I finally get through to my patients, they say the same thing. Thanks. I just needed that. I needed to get back. Every single time. Even though it's because I don't care what you think. I don't care. Don't care what you think, don't care what you say. My job is to save your life. And if your job isn't to live to 100 years old in great health with your family, then this isn't the right place for you, because I'm going to be on you every single day. And I'm going to make sure you're not missing your appointments. I'm going to make sure your family's here. I'm going to make sure you're at my advanced talks. I'm going to make sure you're here doing everything you can. I'm going to make sure you're working out at the gym, you're taking your exercise, and you're doing your programs. That's what I'm going to make sure of. And I've had some that miss an advanced talk, and I'll be on the phone calling them. It'll be like 5 minutes to 7. Aren't you supposed to start the class at 7? Yep, you're not here. We're waiting until you get here. You don't understand, and I'll do it. I know they're not going to come, but I'll do it on purpose, because I knew you had to be here, and you weren't here, and you signed up on that page, and you weren't here. And they know next time they better not miss, because because that's my commitment toward these people. So you guys kind of understand why I could easily see 1,500 a week. Let's not go through that process of it. We can talk about that later. But you can see how I could attract 1,500 patients a week. Because I'll guarantee, if your mom and dad live near Chicago, would you send them into my office? Some of you say, I don't know, maybe not. If you want them to live longer, you'd send them in. Maybe some of you don't want them. Go to the next slide. This is Richard. Now, this is where I started a lot of my cancer work. A lot of you know I really got into some cancer work years ago, studying cancer, realizing what it took to fight through, get through cancers, remove all the interferences. And he was a retired dentist. He came in at about 60-some years old, ready to retire, a house in Hawaii and house near my area in Chicago, ready to retire, diagnosed, I'm going to hit the next slide, diagnosed with 3 months to live. Does anyone know what you're looking at there, those white fields? Obviously, that should be black. He had that x-ray. From that x-ray, they went in. He's diagnosed with cancer. Real smart guy, retired dentist, knew some of his stuff. Devastated to death. I mean, you got to imagine, worked just like us, worked hard, had all the money in the world he could imagine, had more than one office, had associates. I mean, he just tells me the stories throughout his life. He could do anything he wanted, and now he's going to die. 26 grandkids. Life is his grandkids, and that's all he kept talking about in tears to me as he came in. Now, this was a while ago, and I didn't know a lot about cancer, but I always act as if. And so we just went through it and said, hey, at that time, all I knew how to do was adjust. I go, we're going to adjust. Took an x-ray. We adjusted them twice a day. And so I had 3 months to learn all about cancer, right? I had 3 months to go. So we started with some of the nutritional protocols, and we got him off the grains and the sugars. We literally stopped. He stopped eating. We got rid of, the wife took the oven out of his house, and she took the microwave literally out of his house, so I knew he wouldn't cook food ever again. So we went through all these protocol systems with him. I was learning as I went. At the same time, I went from probably one cancer patient to probably 15 to 20. People started learning. Go ahead and go to the next x-ray. This x-ray right here was taken 5.5 years later. So that's a 5.5 years later. So I don't always tell you that to impress upon you what I do, but impress upon you what God can do. That God created him to heal. That inside his body is 120 years of health. In his brain is 120 years. That if we can remove the interference, keep it off the body, keep everything else, all the interference out of there, we could keep him living. 5.5 years later, x-ray shows up, walks into there, and that's his new x-ray. Now, I can go through now 75 probably stories of the same exact thing. From leukemias, I get stage 4s, I get people from all over who come in because I am a fanatic, and this will sit up in my office. I have success stories going everywhere. Anybody with cancer, get them inside this office. Have I been in front of the board? Yes, I've been in front of the board because I probably shouldn't be talking that way, but I don't care. My job is to save their life. At one time, they could have had my license. I could have lost everything I had and all my money. I could have lost it all if I would have lost my practice. But guess what? I told the truth and told the truth and told the truth. I went up in front of the board, took my fine, paid the money, and went back into practice and did the same exact thing until they do it again. So why? Because my job is to save your lives. I'm not going to hesitate and worry about me losing everything. I'm worried about saving people's lives, and that was hard. I'm not telling you that was easy during that. That was hard when you're sitting with your wife and you got a huge house and 4 nice cars, and you're about to lose it all possibly. It's not easy right at the point, but you got to keep focused on what the mission and vision is. And we both said together, we both lived in a small townhome, and we had 1 car, and I said, would we do it again? We would start over. She said, yeah. I said, if anything happens, I'll lose my license for the years, and We could start over in 3 years, whatever it was. But that was our point, that we would do whatever it took. I would not have gotten to all these cancer patients if I wasn't running my mouth all the time and wouldn't be saving these lives. That's what's more important than anything. Next X-ray. So this was one of the first. I started seeing some really hard cases. This child was perfect in the womb. So you got to imagine this story. Those of you who've heard this story, inside the womb, this child's heart beat perfect. Heart rate was there, monitors were there. He was there, moving around, moving, kicking mom all the way, through the last 3 months of pregnancy. All of a sudden, he's born, and he can't move his body. So where did this happen at? It was a delivery. The nurse closed his legs during delivery. As his head was coming out, and jammed his neck back, put him in a severe torticollis. His atlas plane line jammed all the way up into his brainstem. All the way up. You can see it on x-ray. His atlas plane right in the brainstem. Didn't happen in womb because he was moving in the womb. He was moving in the womb. Because I even asked her during the consultation, I said, was he kicking during the womb? She goes, he kicked the whole time until he came out. I said, well, how was the ultrasound? She goes, he had a monitor on me. Everything was perfect. I said, well, what happened? He goes, well, the only thing we can remember is she closed my legs and he jammed his neck back. There you go. They caused it. Not on purpose. Obviously, never on purpose. These aren't bad people. But why wasn't he checked right at birth? Why wasn't he checked right from birth? Inside his brain is how many years of health? It's 120 years of health there. If I can remove the interference from his nerves off his bone, get the pressure off his nerves, bring it to the body, he will re-heal again. Thank God for physical therapy. Now, remember, he went through 6 years of physical therapy right here. What's physical therapy going to do when you don't have an impulse from the brain? Can anybody tell me? How does my muscle grow without the brain impulse? It's impossible. So but thank God for physical therapy. Next x-ray. Because after you adjust him, he's up on his feet with his head moving. Once you remove pressure from the nerve system, then you exercise the muscles. Then you get him to PT. Thank God they're there. Thank God they knew the exercises because I didn't know. And thank God they got him back on his feet. And guess who took all the credit? They did. And I could care less. The mom and dad knew who it was. They didn't tell them they were going there. One day they all came around. They go, look, he's standing. And one day, I just want to go in there one day and just tell them it was me, but I won't. Because to this day, they literally, I go over there once in a while. It's across the street. And to this day, they're like, oh, Chaz comes in here. And they never once said anything. Yet 7 years going there, never had a progress whatsoever. And then after his 3rd month of chiropractic, starts walking, getting on his feet. But that's the power of the body. If you remove the interferences, the brain gets to the body will heal from what? From every disease known to man. Your body will heal it. The body is that amazing and that potential sitting inside of you. Next picture. So a new approach to immunity. This is Dr. Robert Roundtree. If you look up that, you can go onto a Google search. These are some of the new ages in, I hate the word new age, I'm sorry. The new era of medicine is in immunity. And he says the inability of antibiotics to wipe out disease and the emergence of antibiotic resistance bacteria and super infections, because that's what's happening now through all the drugs, has led many distinguished researchers and physicians to conclude that the answer to disease is not to create stronger medicines. Huge right there. That we cannot keep creating stronger medicines. We've been doing it for 80 years. We say the solution lies in attacking the disease from the inside out by strengthening the body's natural defense network. Isn't that amazing? And who's going to do that? We are. We're the only ones who can lead that. How are they going to do it? Unless they put their hands on, find the subluxation, remove it, so the brain gets back to the body, they're never, ever going to be able to do this. They think they're going to somehow be able to use some type of medicine or some type of approach to be able to do this. There is nothing on the outside that will bring health in your body and raise your immune system. It's the adjustment. Next picture. So pressed by patients and advancing technology, healthcare will soon change its focus from treatment to enhancement, repair to improvement, diminished sickness to increased performance. The transformation has begun. Everything now is looking into psychoneuroimmunology, which is brain, body, mind, body connection. Everything's going that way now. We are the leaders of the new generation. We are the doctors, not only of the future, we are the doctors of now, and we are leading people there through this maximized living. Next. So maximized living model, getting regular nerve system checkups and never waiting till you're sick to do something. Avoiding and reducing medications, not taking vaccinations, quality nutrients, eating body by God diet, and optimal oxygen levels and exercise. That this is what we teach we've learned through Maximized Living. This is what we teach our patients on a regular basis for the rest of their lives. How much would it be worth for your patients to know that and live that? It's priceless. So do you see now why Maximized Living doctors have the biggest offices in the world? It's not because, we are kind of getting to the best. But, no, I'm just kidding. But it's because of the fact that we are leading this generation of people away from this bad culture, this sick, diseased culture, and we're moving them into our culture. That we have a higher vision and mission, that we have no regrets, that we know there's a higher vision calling us, that we know we're there to save and change these people's communities. We know we're there to change these people's lives. Those of you who ever watched Joel Osteen, he told a story about 4 weeks ago, those of you who heard it. The couple was driving to the airport, and they were really late getting to the airport. And on the right of way to the airport, they're just about to miss their plane, they got a flat tire. And during their flat tire, they were changing their flat tire. They were on their way to New York City to see their father, who was a firefighter there. Ends up, obviously, God's calling. They end up missing that plane. Their plane was the one that went right into the building, a 9/11. Ends up that their father was there in the building. Their father ended up being killed. His father ended up killed that day in the building. Those of you who heard the story. And these are true stories. There's tons of these stories. I probably know like 7 of them now. There's lots of them that have come out. Inside that building, the father had died. They're not sure where he was, in the bottom and the top, but he had died during 9/11. And obviously devastated the family. Obviously, at least they weren't there. It was God's calling. They couldn't figure out why their father was there. But for years, the mom and dad couldn't get their father to accept, Jesus Christ and go to church and accept the Bible. And they were always working with him. And they knew that he had died. So the worst regret they had right then was that their father had died in 9/11 and never ever, understood his spiritual and understood God. And about a month later, maybe 2 months later, there was a knock on their door, and a lady came up to them. She had a baby in their hand, and she said, "I just wanted to, say hi to you and tell you the story of why I'm here." And they said, "Well, why are you here?" And she said, "Well, I was in the building on 9/11 with your father, and your father got me out of a room. He knew his way down through the dark, and we couldn't use an elevator, and he literally walked me down these flights of stairs, hundreds of flights of stairs to the bottom, and guided me to the safety. But the whole way down, I was talking about God, and we got him at the bottom of the stairs. Right before we left the outside of there, he got on his hands and knees and accepted Jesus Christ into his life." And she said, "I just wanted you guys to know that that's what your father did." And he actually, right from there, he got back up and went back up there, and that's when he died. And I also want you to know at the time I was pregnant, and we named this baby after your father. So that's one of those powerful stories. That regardless of what your faith is or what your spirit is, that there is a higher calling, that there's a bigger vision on your life, that you were created, like Dr. Joel said, there's a dream down in here. There's an intention for you that's bigger than you can imagine. And my goal is, and if I can help it and Maximized Living can help it, we're going to make sure you achieve every single goal in your life, that you live this Maximized Living life, and you make it to where you didn't make it and express those dreams. So thanks, guys.